This is the second DVD in our series of proper fur handling. It's free to members of the Wild Fur Shippers Council as one of the benefits of membership. Its intention is to help our members increase the quality and value of the pelts they produce, and to offer the world and provide their company, NAFA, with the finest collection of wild fur in North America.
I hope I've been a good enough person to end up in heaven, but I'm not sure it could be much better than being in the Maine woods on a beaver flowage in the middle of winter. I think most trappers have a connection to the beaver. As trappers, really, they're a direct link to our history and our heritage.
Well, the beaver is like almost like a person. He's smart, he collects his food, builds his house, where he's going to spend the winter. So, well, beaver is like almost like a person.
I wish I had the attributes of the beaver, the tenacity, the ingenuity, and the work ethic, and that mellow demeanor. You know, that's a lot of lessons there for humans. A good part of North America owes its early exploration and settlement to the beaver.
Yeah, beaver are part of our culture, yeah, part of our heritage. It should be, on our flag, it should be a beaver instead of a maple leaf, too.
Got started trapping beaver before I started high school. Grew up in lumber camps. I lived in remote areas, and beaver trapping was the ultimate. So anybody that falls in love with trapping loves trapping beaver. I learned from a bunch of old beaver trappers that grew up in the era when beaver was worth $1 an inch. At that time, one good prime beaver to them was worth close to a month's pay.
There was one year I made 50,000. There were some years I made 3,000.
I bought mostly for the Montreal market. I had one customer, I still have him. He used about 70 to 80,000 skins a year.
The meat is more valuable than the fur. We eat all the beaver that we can that we trap. Even the ones we don't eat, we freeze them and we bring them to our community.
In my lifetime, I think I must have bought a couple of million beaver. 2 for sure.
If the beaver was not put here, I think there would be no native people around here.
Long before the first Basque fishermen encountered the Abnaki Native Americans off the east coast of Quebec and the Maritimes, beaver hats were the rage of European society. The European beaver was hunted almost to extinction for the thick, full underfur used in making felt hats. In the 16th and 17th century, beaver were so scarce in Europe that only the aristocracy could even afford the beaver felt hats. When the first contacts took place along the coast of North America, the trading was with the sailors and the fishermen venturing to the New World for its abundance of codfish. But even they knew the value of beaver pelts. Much to their disbelief, the natives willingly traded the beaver furs that they wore for mere trinkets. When they returned to the Spanish ports, the value of the few beaver they returned with often was worth more than the entire shipload of codfish. Soon there were enterprising traders, mostly French, sailing all along the northeastern coast and up the St. Lawrence in search of native parties, willing to trade for beaver pelts. In 1600, the first permanent trading post in the New World was established by the French. Tadoussac, located at the mouth of the Saguenay River, became the hub of the French fur trade for almost 200 years. Beaver was the gold of the New World, and the rush was on. By the early 1600s, the English were also making trading forays into the New World, only further north to avoid the lands around the St. Lawrence River. King Henry IV of France had granted a fur trading monopoly to the French for all the lands along that river. In 1610, a ship captained by Henry Hudson sailed north of Labrador looking for a shorter route to the Far East. He entered a massive inland ocean. Unsure of his location or where this sea would lead him, he explored too late into the northern winter, and his ship became icebound at the mouth of a large river at the bottom of the bay. Unaccustomed to the harsh northern winters, their supplies ran out, and many of Hudson's men perished. What is significant about this is that during the winter, according to Hudson's journals, a single native pulling a sleigh came upon the stranded ship, and Hudson initiated a trade. A looking glass, a knife, and a handful of buttons for a beaver pelt and 2 deer, probably caribou hides. The location of the ship was at what was to be later called Rupert's House. This simple exchange would be the first fur trade on Hudson's Bay. That single transaction eventually led to an empire that spanned 2/3 of what is now Canada and was the foundation on which that nation was built. For all of us as trappers, that location in what is now the Cree community of Waskaganish at the mouth of Rupert's River is hallowed ground. By 1670, a group of English traders were granted a charter from King Charles of England for the exclusive trading rights to all the land that drained into Hudson's Bay. The governor and company of adventurers of England trading into Hudson's Bay called themselves the Hudson Bay Company, and thus the bedrock of the oldest ongoing commercial enterprise in history was formed, and the forefather of your company, North American Fur Auctions. The trading posts of the Hudson Bay Company were built at the mouth of every major river in the north, and they gathered pelts coming from the heart of the country as far west as the spine of the Rockies. As new posts were established, so were the routes of almost every major city in Canada, from Winnipeg, Edmonton, Montreal, and Victoria. Even in the U.S., cities like St. Louis and Minneapolis owe their existence to the trade for beaver pelts. Beaver was king. Every article of trade had a value in beaver pelts. It was the only medium of trade. There was no currency other than pelts. The demand for beaver felt hats in Europe was insatiable. Every year, hundreds of thousands of pelts found their way from the depths of North American wilderness to Hudson's Bay Company auction house in London. The era of the fur trade was one of the most fascinating and romantic times in our history. From the mountain men, Coureurs de Bois, the canoe brigades, the rise of the Métis people, and fur rendezvous, we as trappers are heirs to a rich, proud, and colorful history. And now, as owners of NAFA, the successor to the Hudson's Bay Company, we not only have a direct link to that history, but a vested interest in the future of the fur industry.